credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
And a very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Lord with the Monday, August 15th edition of the CBC Evening News. And our top story: as Barbados joined others around the world celebrating Panama Day, Prime Minister Fundell Stewart wants to strengthen ties between the two nations. He says the strong ancestral and cultural connection shared by Barbados and Panama suggests that the existing diplomatic relationship should be enhanced for their mutual benefit. The Prime Minister made the point while noting that Panama Day serves as an occasion to pay tribute to Barbadians who contributed to the construction of the Panama Canal, which is now one of the 7 wonders of the world. He says the canal has forever linked the two countries. Mr. Stewart says at the start of the 20th century, tens of thousands of Barbadians were recruited to work on the canal, and Barbados salutes every one of them. Noting that some of them died along the way, he said the workers played a pivotal role in what was then the world's most ambitious project to connect the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Well, in case you forgot, Budget Day in Barbados is tomorrow, and several organizations, including the Small Business Association, are calling for a few things, including greater access to capital. And Chief Executive Officer Lynette Holder says they are hoping that Finance Minister Chris Sinclair will establish a fund to adequately serve the needs of small businesses. Speaking to CBC News earlier today, Ms. Holder pointed out that several of the government agencies which currently provide funding are undercapitalized. Meantime, the Barbados Private Sector Association has chosen not to comment on the budget until it is presented. While the Barbados Labour Party wants government to rethink imposing any more taxes on Barbadians, economist and first-time BLP candidate Ryan Strawn says any new taxes will do the local economy more harm than good. The opposition understands that the DLP administration plans to implement a new tax designed to collect in excess of $120 million on both imports and locally produced goods. Additionally, Mr. Strawn says there could be an extension of the tax on bank assets, which the bank will not be able to absorb, and this will be passed on to customers. He says this is an attempt to bolster the declining foreign reserves.
It is therefore regrettable that we have come to understand that the Minister of Finance, Chris Sinclair, will come yet again and impose more taxes on the people of Barbados in a desperate attempt to bolster the declining foreign reserves. Having said that, we feel that to impose a new tax on the Barbadian public intended to raise more than $120 million from imports and locally produced goods would lead to greater hardship on the very households already struggling to make ends meet. There will be an immediate and inevitable increase in the cost of living when Beijing wages have been frozen for more than 6 years.
And most Barbadians will be preparing for the outcome of that budget. CBC News spoke to a number of people in the city today who shared their expectations.
I feel that they should think about the budget carefully, because a lot of people is not working and their family and friends have to cut in or cut back their budget in order to help out them.
We have to go along with the flow. Some people have got employed recently because of the other places are opening all over Barbados. We have new stores opening, and they're recently being a help for people that was unemployed. So right now the government is trying their best to do what they can do.
The budget is neither here nor there with me, because whatever Chris Sinclair bring tomorrow, we have to live with it.
From the time you're dealing with the budget, you gotta look at the people.
I hope that it will be a budget that the poor man will benefit something from it.
The organizers of the Black Rock Folk Festival are optimistic it could eventually rise and outshine the Oystins, Fish and Whole Town festivals. The 2016 Folk Festival opened yesterday with prayer, song and dance at the Black Rock Cultural Center. Monsignor Vincent Blackett of the Festival Organizing Committee says the week-long event celebrates the diversity that exists in Black Rock. He described the St. Michael community as a rich cultural oasis. Several other activities are on the lineup for that festival.
We have the lecture on Monday night. We have the bus tour of Black Rock on Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. And then we have on Wednesday a lecture by Sir Paul Altman And then on Thursday, Q in the community, and that will be at Belfield. And then on Friday, the sporting event. Saturday is a food fair, and this is dedicated to none other than Carmita Fraser.
An acting Minister of Culture, Senator Patrick Todd, says the wide-ranging intergenerational festival demonstrates Black Rock's growing confidence in the island's cultural identity. He believes there is much more to learn from it.
In a time when some of our communities are torn apart by violence, events that promote social cohesion are indeed welcome and timely. We are also learning that community festivals create avenues for cultural expression, as talents of community members are on display, as we saw so well this evening, whether through the performing arts or the visual arts in the form of craft and art.
Black Rock Folk Festival runs until August the 21st. Well, the Environment Minister is appealing to drivers to stop driving onto the Chancery Lane wetland and onto the surrounding beaches. This from the Environment Minister, Dr. Dennis Lowe, as he was speaking to the media after the launch of the ministry's new environment website recently.
There's a lot of erosion down there. The berms that protect the ocean from coming inland have been disrupted. People have been moving sand and so on. And now there's vehicular traffic going all the way onto the beach, which has disturbed the nearshore protection systems there. So that is something that we have to attend more to, but it certainly is on our radar.
Well, it's hoped that through the Environment Act, the Chancery Lane wetland will be preserved and protected under the Ramsar Convention. Minister Lowe says he is pushing his department to accelerate the completion of that legislation.
Only a few days ago, I spoke to one of the agencies in the ministry about going down there and cleaning it up, because now there's some illegal dumping going on down there. There is an unmanaged harvesting of the grass, which is exposing the soil, and in the dry times that creates its own hazards.
Well, stay with us. We'll have more news right after the break.
Don't let your data experience slow you down. Step up to Digicel, Barbados' fastest 4G network, more than twice as fast as the slow network. Get more with Digicel. Digicel, the fastest 4G network in Barbados. Dial *153# to sign up to Digicel today.
Sale, sale, sale at Shoemax. The place to go for ladies' footwear is Shoemax at Dowell's House, Palmetto Street. For work, casual, school, and wide-width shoes for maximum value on lady shoes and selected items for only $29.95. Go to Shoemax, Dowell's House, Palmetto Street.
Sun Power on water systems.
I had some problems with my solar water heater. The collectors was leaking. I called the original agency and said, well, they can't do anything about it because the system is bad and they will have to install a new system. I didn't hear back from them. Then I called Sun Power. I went to Monday, paid some money, and by Thursday it was on.
Yes, your Sun Power.
The local agricultural sector has been dealt a harsh blow. This as the Ministry of Agriculture has reported that their cassava project has been hit multiple times by theft recently.
Dying, uprooted plants now litter an area of land where just a few weeks ago, rows of thriving cassava stood. It's the third time this crop has been hit by theft in only a week. And the Ministry of Agriculture is feeling the loss of hundreds of pounds of cassava. The plants were part of a collaborative project between the Ministry and the Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute to boost the cassava industry. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Esworth Reed, says the loss is much more than dollars and cents.
Some person might come and steal, say, for example, say, a bite of cassava or 2 bites of cassava that might cost $200. But that is not the value. That is not the real value. The real value is what the cassava that you're raising was being used for. It was a research base that would have the potential to carry Barbados even further.
He says the ministry will be implementing security measures, but called on the farmers to play their part.
The ministry is in the process of putting down things like cameras. They're putting down other forms of physical security mechanisms. And we're doing it not only so to protect the ministry's research station, but we're also doing it to demonstrate to farmers what they should do to protect themselves and to protect their production.
In addition, legislation on predial larceny is expected to be completed this year.
This is in addition to the agricultural protection bill that will be going before Parliament very soon, where some very harsh laws will be put in place for these people who involve themselves in predial larceny. Those people who sit by the wayside and wait till people produce and then go and steal the products. Therefore, deterring farmers from continuing in production.
Graduate assistant with Cardi, Paul Lucas, says the loss of the cassava has set their research back a year.
This time around, there was 16 varieties we had, and out of these 16, they touch all the varieties we have. This obviously means that we have little to no data, or the amount at which we would want to contribute to a significant report. And that's how it has affected us. And moving forward now, what we could hope to do is salvage some of the material and start fresh. But again, we would have to wait perhaps 10 to 12 months.
With Barbados' annual food import bill reaching hundreds of millions of dollars, initiatives like this cassava project are invaluable to reducing that cost and helping Barbadians to feed themselves. Kent Jerson, CBC News.
Well, local hotel officials are again stressing hotels are not just for tourists. In fact, General Manager of Crystal Cove Hotel, Sophia Babb, says it's a common misconception that she wants dispelled. She says her hotel and many others across the island actively encourage locals to frequent their pools, restaurants and bars.
There's staycation offers that we offer to locals. We have quite a few persons that, you know, they've found out, and once they found out, they're blown away. As in, that's all we want Bajans to acknowledge, that they can come to our properties. Crystal Cove is part of the Elegant chain, and enjoy what we have to offer, not only for the tourists who come for the sun and sea.
Well, Crystal Cove Management says its team keeps an open door to locals and also entertains visitors with activities year-round. Right now, it's enjoying 80% occupancy, with kids making up a third of that number. Just this weekend, the hotel held their Kids Beach event Splashtastic, which is just one part of their summer program, which also includes Beach Olympics.
For the entire summer, what we do every week, whilst the kids are on holiday, is we hold an event where, like for instance, we would have had the Family Fantastic and Kadooment Fair, and at this particular one, we had the Barbados Landship come in and give the kids show the kids some of our culture. We also had the petting zoo. Then we had Nerf It, and Nerf It is where we have mannequins like Star Wars, and the kids will use the Nerf It guns and shoot at them and aim. We had Mini Chef and lots more activities.
A supervisor at the Government Industrial School is advising prospective first formers to develop good characteristics when they enter their new schools. John King says maintaining a good character will help them in all aspects of their lives and also allow them to be positive examples for others. He was speaking at the Togetherness Social Group's 11 Plus Achievers seminar.
Not everyone is going to be your friend, you know that. And you're going to have to learn to deal with different personalities. What is the one thing that is going to be able to hold you in good stead when you go into a new environment? Is your character. It's one of those things that people don't talk very much about these days. We talk a lot about making sure that you do your work diligently, and you have to do that. But it takes a certain amount of character, a certain amount of understanding who you are to even begin to settle down and do work.
Meantime, Reverend Susan Ellis also reminded the students to have good manners.
I also want to say to you, in addition to always practicing good manners and remembering that good manners opens doors that the best education cannot, the point about that is that people are willing to grant favor or exercise mercy or grace or whatever once you exhibit that you have a willing spirit, you have a teachable attitude, and that you can conduct yourself in an environment or a space where you recognize that you are living and working with other people.
Member of Parliament for St. Thomas, Cynthia Ford, has called on society to return to the traditional foods and practices of our foreparents. She says she is concerned that the eating habits of Barbadians, especially young people, are causing them to fall victim to external influences.
The first thing that bothers me is the eating habits and some of the lifestyles that Barbadians have developed. And I think a lot of it is to do with the cultural penetration. What's happening in the rest of the world.
Ms. Ford was speaking at the Bryant Travel Group's second annual Health Day at Friendship Playing Field, where members of the surrounding communities enjoyed presentations on various aspects of healthy living. She called on society to focus on bridging generation gaps so useful traditions and practices can continue.
Like small things, but we need to concentrate on them and pass it on to our children and grandchildren. And there's too much of a detachment in our various communities where grandparents are not as close enough to our children, where we can get the generational linkages that our children can pick up the skills and the ideas.
Ahead, a look at some of the stories from around our region.
Play the new hot ticket, Super Sizzling Sevens, and you could be swimming in cash with a top prize of $107,000 and 21 chances to win $107,000 on each ticket. Countdown to 50.
We are the students of Blackman and Bowler Primary School. I like Barbados because of the culture and the beaches, such as sports, music, and the food. There are 107 days until we celebrate the 50th anniversary of independence.
A countdown to 50. Fly always. Always something new.
Regional news now. First in Guyana, they were married for more than 20 years, but an enraged businessman shot and seriously injured his wife before turning the gun on himself. Javon Vickery tells us more.
73-year-old mining entrepreneur Theodore Adams is believed to have shot his wife and later turned his own gun on himself. He died, but his wife remains a patient in a city hospital. The incident happened Wednesday evening at the couple's home in North Road, Georgetown. Police were called to the scene where they received a report from neighbors that loud explosions were heard coming from the house. Adams was reportedly found dead on his bedroom floor with a gunshot wound to the head. Neighbors of the couple told Nightly News on Thursday that the now dead man and his wife had been engaged in a heated argument. The residents spoke of a loud scream coming from the couple's house, apparently by the man's wife, who was shot in the face. Close relatives were stunned by the shooting and reluctant to speculate on the cause of the incident.
I didn't have problems for a long while. I prefer not to divulge it, because I would feel as a personal problem between he and her.
Meanwhile, Commander of A Division Clifton Hicken expressed the view that it could have been an attempted murder and suicide. He also confirmed that the dead businessman was a licensed firearm holder.
In Jamaica, as part of its continued commitment to education, the JPS and Partners Cooperative Credit Union Limited has awarded 54 high school bursaries and 2 tertiary level scholarships to students valued at more than $4 million. The scholarships were presented during an awards luncheon at the Knutsford Court Hotel in Kingston. In his address, Gary Barrow, Chief Technology Officer at the Jamaica Public Service Company Limited, challenged the students to think outside the box when solving problems. He said their visions, ideas and foresight will be critical in tackling some of the island's problems. In Trinidad